From the artificial time matrix to the divine time matrix, fractal resonance in time. On the galactic count, Kin 257 red planetary Earth holds the entrance to the last harmonic of 4 days of the Tzolk'in matrix, Kin 257 to 260. The affirmation for red planetary Earth states: I perfect in order to evolve. Producing synchronicity. I seal the matrix of navigation with the planetary tone of manifestation. I am guided by the power of life force. From the perspective of fractal time, Kin 257 red planetary Earth holds a deep spectrum of multidimensional significance. Let's appreciate the fractal historic events associated with this window in more detail. 1. On the daily count, Kin 257 codes the Gregorian calendar reform as the signature of the papal bull Inter Gravissimus. Today marks the completion of 616 Tzolk'in cycles of 260 days from ground zero point in time of the Gregorian calendar, the artificial time matrix, via the signing into law of this papal bull on February 24, 1582, Julian. This date on the Gregorian calendar corresponds to Kin 257 and acts as the alpha point of the artificial count that can be considered as the cornerstone of the institutionalization of the current operating system of civilization. This date constitutes a decisive turning point in the history of the planet as it marks the ground zero of the current calendar, the program that serves as the operating system of civilization. This macro program has been adopted worldwide as the current civil standard to measure time and has facilitated the paradoxical emergence of the exact opposite, an uncivilized and predatory society. 2. On the 260 Khotun fractal count, Kin 257 corresponds to the Khotun 257, 1933 to 1953. 1933 was the ground zero of the 13-month, 28-day calendar reform of George Eastman, founder of Kodak. 1933 was destined to be the first year of 13 months in history of modern civilization. 3. On the 13 Bakshan map, Kin 257 also codes the Khotun that signaled the start of the atomic era. It is during these last 4 Khatons, Kin 257 to 260, that the machine expansion accelerates its pace after the atomic explosions of 1945. This therefore a sensitive window of time, and an invitation to take a deep dive into the fractal compounding synchronizations taking place as we approach a new 260-day galactic reset on August 31, 2021. Shifting from harm to harmony. In a world of harmony there is no apocalypse. Jose Arguelles. On the Tzolk'in count we are transiting the 13th and final 20-day harmonic run of the 1320 matrix, comprised from Kin 241 to Kin 260. On the fractal count of the 13 Bakshan map of recorded history, this 20-day window corresponds to the most turbulent period of human evolution, the 13th and final Bakshan of the Mayan long count, 1618 to 2012. This 20-day period comprises the expansion of the Gregorian reform of 1582 and the mechanization of time. In other words, during these 20 days we have the opportunity to redeem the karmic imprint from this dark period for humanity. Parallel realities. Only one mind. For the mind of the Earth, the noosphere, there are no splits, all realities can converge and merge in an instant, so now we will explore in depth the hidden threads connecting these opposing scenarios through the fabric of time and uncover the harmony behind this apparent clash of paradigms. Fact meets fiction, welcome to the Twilight Zone. This lunar moon of challenge may feel very much like navigating in between worlds. We are being called to stabilize the polarity in the field. Two opposite realities seem to be coalescing and synchronizing during this passage. The noosphere, planetary mind, keeps activating at an increasingly fast, harmonious and synchronous pace, as the old matrix and its outdated programs keep crumbling and falling apart. The movie industry is not the exception. The Matrix Resurrections. Kin 257 red planetary Earth is also the galactic signature of Keanu Reeves, born on September 2, 1964, Canadian actor famous for his role as Neo in the Matrix trilogy series, where he plays the archetype of prophet/Messiah. Who better than him to seal the divine matrix of navigation with the planetary tone of manifestation? The Matrix, the first movie of the trilogy, was released on March 31, 1999, becoming suddenly a cultural icon of the times, an inseparable part of the Y2K and 2012 memes, and probably the most relevant and revealing sci-fi story of the 20th century. Unique in its nature for presenting to the masses a renewed scenario between machine, artificial, and human, natural, consciousness, through a story full of philosophical and esoteric concepts and metaphors. The Matrix reintroduced the archetype of the modern prophet/messiah and catalyzed the reawakening of perennial dormant questions for a vast planetary audience. Considering the central role that artificial intelligence is playing in society in 2021, 22 years from the release of The Matrix, is therefore of special synchronic significance that only 2 days ago, the trailer and the name of the fourth part of The Matrix were released. The announcement is synchronizing with the entrance to 4 final days of the Tsoken Matrix and the completion 80 Tsoken cycles from Keanu's birth, September 2, 1964, Kin 257. According to CNN, the trailer for The Matrix, Resurrections includes Neil Patrick Harris as a therapist talking to Keanu Reeves' Neo, a man who discovers that humanity is trapped inside a simulated reality known as the Matrix, and that he is the destined champion who can help liberate them. The movie is slated to come out in theaters on December 22, 2021, exactly 9 years from the end, Omega Point, of the 13 Bakshin map of recorded history, December 21, 2012. On the Tsoken count, this day will correspond to Kin 113, Red Solar Skywalker, representing the prophet/messenger archetype. Note, in The Matrix, Thomas Anderson, Neo, was born September 13, 1971. NS 0.36.2.22 Kin 223 tonight, synchronizing with the day out of time 2021. In other words, Keanu Reeves, Neo, was born September 2, 1964, Kin 257, 536 Tsoken cycles from the inception date of the Gregorian calendar, artificial time matrix, on February 24, 1582, Kin 257. The reform was introduced back in the days of the Inquisition tribunals by Pope Gregory XIII, after whom the calendar was named, and it only started to be enforced until October 4, 1582, 223 days after the papal bull was signed. Also note that today's date on the Gregorian calendar is written 8.28 and 8 by 28 equals 224. Kin 224 is the energy coding this entire 13-moon year. Earth-directed solar flare. As another powerful sign of the unseen coherence in the field, the Sun has presented a spike in activity. The sunspot region 2860 developed rapidly during the past 24 hours and is now a complex sunspot region with a beta-gamma delta magnetic layout. This resulted in a long-duration M4.79 solar flare, M1 minor, which peaked at 6:11 UTC. Type 2 and 4 radio emissions were associated with the solar flare, and this suggested the event was eruptive. Due to the location of sunspot region 2860, it is very likely that the resulting coronal mass ejection has an Earth-directed component. Solar flare. Solar consciousness. Solar shield. This flare is of special significance considering that it's Earth-directed. It comes from sunspot 2860. The Kin equivalent value of number 2860 is Kin 260 yellow cosmic sun, 2860 260 by 10 equals 260, the last day of the Tsoken matrix. The Telektonen prophecy of Pakal Vodun was revealed on Katun 260 of the 13 Bakshin map, 1993 to 2012, as the redemption of the Gregorian distortion through. According to the archaeological record, today marks the completion of 1,338 years from the departure of Mayan king and sage Pakal Vodun, born as 8 Ajah and also known as the astronaut of Palenque, on August 28, 683. Pakal Vodun means solar shield. Sunspot 2860 also holds 2 key numbers connected to the Telektonen prophecy. 28 is the number of lunar mansions on the Telektonen board, and Kin 60 is the analog of 8 Ajah, birth sign of Pakal Vodun. Time is art. What is this signaling? The significance is multi-level. At a higher level, we are seeing the synchronic order operating with incredible elegance right at the end of the star wave spell, reassuring us that there is a deeper story unfolding behind the veil of appearances. On another level, it is inviting us to look for the connections and the resonance with similar events from the past and connect the dots. As we keep track of those events and protagonists that are unveiling the deeper layers of the archetypal story unfolding, we are also building a wider framework to interpret those connections. The new sphere is here. Nothing genuine is ever truly lost, but the opportunity of new beginning will be a paramount sensation. At what point will we grasp that we are not just isolated egos hooked up to an electronic nervous system which has just malfunctioned, but the individuated thinking cells of a vast planetary organism, whose mind is equally vast in scope and dimension? The point is this: when we understand the scale of the mega crisis, we realize there is nothing that can be done about what is going on within the old system of behavior and belief. You cannot stop an evolutionary shift that is encoded, much like the stages of fetal development are encoded into the embryo's genetic material, into the whole system process of a living planet like the Earth. The only meaningful response to such a transition as is now occurring is to shift our consciousness to meet it. And this is precisely the prescription that augments and affirms the coming of the new sphere. When we extend our awareness and shift our consciousness to encompass the full meaning of this evolutionary shift, we can begin to retrain ourselves, refocus our psychic energies and redirect our practical actions, to come into alignment with what a new spheric civilization, a holistic and harmonic planetary culture will, of necessity, be like. We can begin to live the new time before it arrives, and by doing this, prepare the way for others. Jose Arguelles, Manifesto for the New Sphere.